Hi, I'm Jane Farnham from Great British Speakers, and I'm here today chatting to the fabulous and motivational and inspirational Claire Lomas. Claire, thanks so much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you.
No, it's fantastic to be with you, Jane. Thank you.
Now, we usually find speakers either almost fall into speaking by accident or something really life-changing happened to them. So give me a bit of background to your story.
Yeah, so before my accident, I'm actually paralysed from the chest down. Before my accident, I had a very busy life. I never sat still for a second. And as a chiropractor, so I'd been to university, got a degree, and set up a clinic that treated my patients. So I'm just part-time at home, but my passion were the horses. And right from the age of 2 or 3, as early as I can remember, really, I was on ponies and eventually got into the sport of eventing. And it was always my ambition to compete at the top level. And eventually I got there, and that was 2006. And Burghley Horse Trials is one of 2 top level events in this country. And it was actually the back of where I went to school in Stamford in Lincolnshire. So to be riding there, it felt like all my dreams are coming true, and those ambitions and goals for the future were set pretty high. And then just the tiniest of errors really shattered everything I had planned and everything I'd worked so hard for. So yeah, massive life change, and it was hard to get my head around it.
Wow. I mean, how do you begin to get your head around something like that? How old were you?
So I was 27. It's such a long process, really. It doesn't just happen overnight and you come to terms with it. It certainly didn't for me anyway. I had to just keep making myself do the little things that wouldn't seem like anything. And a lot of doors closed. It felt like everything closed, really. My relationship broke down because a spinal injury affects everyone around you, not just yourself. And I knew it wasn't the same, so I had to finish that. I lost my career, lost my sport. It was just, I didn't know what direction to go in. And it's a bit like a jigsaw. To get the bigger picture, you've got to put all the pieces in. And the first few pieces, if you think of a jigsaw, are actually the hardest. And they were things like going out for lunch with friends when, I could stay in the same 4 walls and think, why me? And feeling angry and sad. But most of the time I'd make myself go out and see people. And these were the first few pieces. And then getting a job, I got offered a job and part of me felt angry. You think that's a bit strange. Why would you feel angry when you've been offered a job? But the reason I felt angry is because in some ways I was going backwards in life. I could have done this job when I was 16, but occasionally we need to actually go backwards to move forward. So that's what I did. All these first decisions and little things were actually essential in order to moving on. And, I wouldn't be where I am now without doing that. And, everyone thinks some of the challenges, which we'll talk about in a bit, have been my toughest things, but actually just getting out of bed when I had no reason to get up was a lot harder. And, basic things were difficult when I left the hospital. Things like having a shower. I peed myself into my shower chair that I even hated the look of. It was a big, ugly, sturdy thing I'd got at the time. I hated it. Physically, it was hard for me, but mentally, it would destroy me. My legs had wasted at this point. I hadn't got electrical stimulation bike that I found out about a couple of years after my accident. My stomach was soft and floppy, not toned like it was that day of the event. And then I'd see the water running down my body. I didn't know if it was hot or cold. I felt 2/3 dead, and I thought, how will I ever be happy and be paralysed? I didn't think it would be possible. So I had to go from like moments like that to basically rebuilding my life.
So how long was that journey between, those first steps to getting to a place where you could find not necessarily peace, but you had the strength to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, like, did it happen at a certain point? Was there a moment that kind of changed you? But actually, it was just the good days started outweighing the bad days. So I'd say the first year for me was the toughest time. A lot of just forcing myself to do those small things. And then you started to have better times. And even in that first year, I'd have moments where I'd be laughing with friends and you kind of forgot a bit about your injury. And then you obviously, you go home and you think, I'm still stuck like this. And it's not just everyone sees that you're in a wheelchair. I can't walk, that's the obvious bit, but actually it affects your bowel, bladder, temperature regulation, blood pressure, nearly everything, no sensation from the chest down. And then when I split with my boyfriend, which was about 10 months after my accident, I was standing in a standing frame, which I do as a rehab thing to get weight onto my legs. And one of my friends had been round, and when I'm in this standing frame, I'm on my laptop to pass the time. And this friend had accidentally clicked on an advert as a dating website. So I thought, I'll fill that out. So I did. Anyway, I did it really as an experiment to see if someone would bother with someone in a wheelchair. I'd put what had happened and everything. And I'd been on it 3 days, and I got a message from Dan. I looked at his profile, I thought, well, he looks all right. But I went to read his message, and you had to pay 20 quid. I thought, nah, I'm not wasting 20 quid. Anyway, all my friends persuaded me to, and I bought my husband off the internet for 20 quid.
That's cheap.
That was that job done, exactly. And then, like, we've got 2 little girls. So really from a year when, like, then I met Dan, and I got my office job, and it just started to, get a bit of a life and get back on track, and found new sports, and just gradually got there.
That's just amazing. The strength of character you've shown is just truly staggering. But tell me about then some of the amazing opportunities and activities that this horrible incident and setback has given you.
Yeah, it's led me on to do things I truly never thought I'd do. And, it's a bit like the end of every chapter is the start of the next, and actually closing all those doors was an opportunity for me to find new things. And one of the things I wanted to do very early on, and describe how hard it was. I also had moments where I felt genuinely lucky because I got used to my arms, and there's a lot of people with neck injuries, some on a ventilator 24/7 for the rest of their lives, and a lot of young people. So that's when I decided I wanted to fundraise to help cure paralysis. So the things I've gone on and done since then have been mainly to raise money, and I've raised about 825,000 now. So getting on towards 1 million, and that's my big milestone. But the kind of biggest challenge I did, was most known and reported on, was the London Marathon in 2012. I walked it in a bionic suit, and it took me 17 days, and it was a tough one. Training, I thought, can I actually do this? And then I just figured that every step would get me a step closer to the finish line. So I went out there with that mentality and broke it down, and eventually got there, and just amazing support. And I didn't expect any of that, and it's kind of led me on to doing more and more. And I ride motorbikes, which I never did before my accident. I got my race license on my motorbike, and I'm nearly a pilot, not far off. So the weather's kind. Pardon?
There's no stopping you.
So it's opened up doors, and I don't feel that my disability has defined me, but it has redefined me.
Nice way of looking at it. And then was there a moment, when did you then get involved in speaking? How did that happen?
That's another funny one, really, because when I was at school, there's nothing I hated more than speaking to groups of people. I'd do anything to get out of it. Even reading a line from a textbook, I'd be like, oh, not me, please. And now I absolutely love it. And, our lives can change, and we go through different experiences. And it was after the London Marathon, and I was asked to go into a school to speak. And I saw the message, and I thought, I'm not sure I want to do that. It's really out my comfort zone. And then I thought, no, go and do it. Sometimes something we didn't like before, can be different. So that's how it started. And I did a hand cycle challenge where I visited 2 schools a day, and over 3 weeks, and finished in London, and raised money for charity. And that's how I started, really. And from that, then I got recommended into the kind of corporate world, and started doing it in a bigger way. And I absolutely love it.
What do you love about it? What gives you a buzz?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. What gives you a buzz? It gives you a buzz, going onto the stage, and every time you want to deliver your best talk. I'm always nervous. People think we do it a lot. You're surely not nervous. But every time, even like virtually, it's like going onto the stage. And when I had my accident, I thought I'd never have that buzz that I got from the horse trials and those big events. And I feel really lucky to have that as a career, and the challenges I do. I'm always shoving myself right out my comfort zone, and that's what I thought I wouldn't get once I was paralysed. I thought, sitting in a wheelchair and not being able to move 2/3 of my body would be a pretty boring life. But let me tell you, it's been far from boring.
Oh, you are far from boring. Do you have a range of different topics that you talk about to suit different audiences?
Yeah, there's I often get given a theme like resilience or teamwork, dealing with change, which has been a good one in these difficult times because everyone's gone through change with COVID, whether that's where you work or family and homeschooling. That's been a whole new challenge for me.
Yeah, tell me about it.
We've all gone through those changes. So that's been quite a good topic at the moment to show that, even when life doesn't go quite how we plan, we can get through it and learning from it. And I mean, I know some businesses have had to change the way they've done things, but actually they won't change everything back to what it was like before COVID. And it's exactly the same with my accident. It's put me on new routes, and you think, well, I actually prefer this to that, and I wouldn't change my life back. There's so many different topics that my story can fit into, and it depends on the theme of the client. It's, I love it, and I never thought it'd be something I would do. And it was when I started getting the first lot of feedback, and obviously that gives you confidence, and it's just built on from that. So I've done it for over 8 years now.
Well, you're absolutely amazing. It's been really, really, truly inspiring chatting to you today, Claire. Thank you so much for telling us all about your journey.
Thank you. No, thanks for inviting me.
And if you would like to book Claire, then simply contact myself or Steve at Great British Speakers. You can contact us at bookings@greatbritishtalent.com or on the phone, which is 01753 439 289.